Welcome to the Golf and Fitness Show, brought to you by PGA Tour Active. I'm your host, Cory Gregory. On today's show, we have decorated multi-sport performance coach Kolby Tullier, or better known as Coach K. Wayne. Kolby is the trainer of recent Players Championship winner Justin Thomas and LPGA superstar Lexi Thompson. Kolby, what's good? And welcome to the show.
What's going on, my man? Thanks for having me.
Man, I got to tell you, I was reading up on you. You've worked with some amazing athletes in your career, and you've been doing it for a really long time, man. But I'd love to hear, what was the entry point to the business? Where did early age Kolby start at? Because I think, especially for aspiring trainers, for them to say like, oh, this is where he started at to where he's at now. What was the entry point, Kolby?
Yeah, it's a great story, actually. To go back from the very beginning, like when I always loved fitness. So I was always kind of like what you would call more like a gym rat, where I was always working out. I was fascinated with the whole thing, loved it, loved everything about it, from the nutrition side, from the training side, just overall, just fitness in general was great. Early in my career, like I started out in the cardiac rehab.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in the cardiac rehab realm where I was on the medical side. And then from there, I was doing cardiac rehab, and then I got involved in physical therapy. So I would go to the hospital and work in the cardiac rehab department. And I'd take, on opposite days, I would do that 3 days a week. Then on other 2 days, I would work in a physical therapy clinic. And while I was doing those two back and forth, I was also going 4:30 in the morning at the gym and work until 7 before I had to go to the hospital and get off work at 4:30 and then go back to the gym and work till 10 o'clock at night. So
love it.
I absolutely fell in love with the grind and just fell in love with the whole concept of it, you know, and then I just kept gravitating more toward the fitness field, where I had an opportunity to prolong my career and take the next step from a physical therapy standpoint. But man, the gym just kept drawing me. So I actually got a job. I was at the hospital. I was at the PT clinic, sorry. So I left cardiac rehab, went straight into PT. So I was kind of doing both now. I was doing PT and personal training at the gyms and the health clubs and stuff like that. So did like a guest speaking seminar, kind of like at a Rotary Club you would see, and just talking to a group of young businessmen and older businessmen, successful businessmen, bankers, CEOs, stuff like that. Just see.
Hey, before social media, that's what we had to do.
Correct. So yeah, like I'm literally talking at a luncheon where now I can communicate with guys via cell phone, right? So I was there and I was just kind of talking about the injuries we see in physical therapy and like how we treat those things, like kind of like your weekend warriors, like your golfers that are playing golf, the guys that are playing, still doing like the ancient athletes, like playing those high level sports like flag football and softball and stuff like that too. And then a man approached me, and his son had a personal training studio. So he offered me a position. So I took it right there. Like that day after the Rotary Club, I was like, yeah, I'll be there at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So I worked for this gym. It was my first personal training studio I ever worked at. And I worked there for a year, and fast forward, the owner decided to go to law school, and I decided to approach my father, who was 2 weeks away from retiring from the state police. He'd put 25 years in. So I went to him and basically said, I want to mortgage all of our land, your house, and your retirement, because I want to buy this business. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And but he took a chance on me. And basically I did that. I took that opportunity, and we floated everything we had. My dad put up everything. He was literally 2 weeks away from retirement. And I moved back home with my parents, and I floated everything that they had and everything that they worked for their entire lives and their careers, 8.5 acres of land and a house sitting on the middle of it. And he took that flyer on his son that had this dream, and we bought it. And, you know, it was, so I basically moved back home.
Good for you, dude. Good for you.
So yeah, I moved back home, woke up at 4:30 every morning, worked till 10 o'clock for the next 2 years, and I paid it off in those 2 years.
In 24 months.
Yep, 24 months. I paid the entire thing off, close to $500,000 of debt. And yeah, it's awesome, you know. So it's like with anything, when you have these journeys in your life, that, you know, there's always someone else involved in that success, right? And I think that's kind of like why I do what I do, and why I enjoy to do what I do as much as I do, right? Because, you know, for me, like I say this all the time, the most humbling part for me with I've been blessed, and I've been so fortunate to work with amazing athletes. But to me, the most important thing is to be on that journey with them. Kind of like
Yeah.
that journey that I was on. You know, there's that determination to succeed and that passion to want to get better. Just having an opportunity and really seizing it and kind of, you know, taking the ball and, you know, like we always talk all the time with athletes, like, do you want the ball or not? You know, and if you get the ball, what are you going to do with it? So that's kind of like how my journey started. Yeah, that's kind of like how my journey started, you know, and then like, and I talk to people all the time just from those type of stories that you see. And it's even like with the athletes that you train, like if it's an NFL athlete that makes it to his first Pro Bowl, or if it's a Major League Baseball pitcher I've worked with that made it to the All-Star game, like, or a golfer that you take that's never really won, but now they go on this little streak where they have success in their career. And to me, the most amazing part is just to be on the journey, and just and if any piece or part that I can be in that journey, then I mean it's a pretty cool gig. You know, it's amazing.
Hey, the process, there's a lot of sauce in the process. A lot of people are trying to skip the process, Kolby. And that's why that's why I wanted to start way back, because it's easy for people to see you working with JT at Joe, you know, with Joey D, all these banners are hanging, but how do you get there? And I think that right there, understanding that all-in mentality, you couldn't deny fitness. It wouldn't leave you, right? So that right there, there's a lot in that, and I think there's a lot of inspiration people can draw from that. So that, thanks for sharing that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, I mean, it was good. Like I said, I mean, the journey that I had, it was a bumpy road. Like there's no, like I said all the time, like it's like with anything in life too. And like I tell my athletes that I work with, like, you got to be willing to want the ball. And if you get the ball, like, what are you going to do with it? And like I always say all the time, the season favors are prepared. So it's like, you got to prepare to be successful. And for me, it was just being all in. And I bought into the process. Like I knew every morning when I woke up at 4:30, I was waking up for a reason. And I knew my why, and I knew why I wanted to do it. And I knew the outcome. I just knew I had to put the time in and I'd outwork everybody. So, and it's still to this day. I mean, I'll go from 5 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night, and I won't even think about it, because it's just kind of it's in the sauce, like you said. But there's so much involved in it, because people see the success. You see the guy holding a trophy on Sunday, but like I tell people all the time when I get a chance to talk to individuals, even like yourself, like there's so much being put into that process. Like you see the end result, but like there's so many steps that are being done. You know, and even like the most successful guys, like people say, what's the biggest thing that people would know? It's the work and the dedication. It's making the decision to where I just want a golf tournament. So, man, I'm good. I'm good now. I can chill. I can do what I want to do. But the most successful guys, like, and I know for a fact, because I'm able to work with them, like, we're in the gym the next day.
No finish line.
No. Like I tell them, like, we're trying to get better. And that's kind of like where I am too, because, you know, most guys, like, if you come to me and say, man, look, I want to win. I really want to win a PGA Tour. I want you to win all of it. I want you to win 10. You know, I want to win a national championship. I want you to win 10 national championships. Like, to me, like, that's where I'm at in the thing, because I want you to know, if you're going to trust me with your fitness and with your health, I want you to know that I'm all in. And no matter what it is, there's no timesheet out here. You know, if you need me at 8, I'm there at 8. You need me at 4 a.m., I'm there at 4 a.m. I mean, it's just, we all got to be in it together.
Yeah, that's amazing. Talk to me about the why, Kolby. That's something that a lot of people do understand and don't understand. Like, when it's real, that really doesn't burn out. You know what I'm saying? It's there. Correct. It's present every day. So lay that down to me real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you know, why, like, the why can be so many different things for people. But for me, like, it's the journey. You know, that's my why. Like, my why is I want to get better every day too. Like, that 1% better I'm trying to get you at. I'm trying to get you 1% better every day. Like, I'm trying to get 1% better too. And I think from a why standpoint, like, I think once you get that and once you have that, you're exactly right. It doesn't die. Like, a lot of guys, if their why just want to win, well, once they win, then what now?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like me. So, like, it's like, I want to open this gym. So when I open the gym, like, what do I do now? And I think that's why a lot of times a lot of businesses burn out, because like you just kind of set the ceiling, right? You set the cap. And then once you get there, you're kind of like, oh, you know, it's kind of like you see a lot of guys, you know, like, I want to make it to the NFL. When they get there, they kind of happens, you know, and then it's kind of like, what do you do now? They get the big contract or this or that and stuff like that. But like the guys, the most successful guys, like the TB12s, you know, the Justin Thomas,
they're all gas all the time.
Correct. Yeah. Like, there's no like, okay, well, I won, you know, and I've seen it. Like, I've been there. Like, I've seen the Dustin Johnson. I've I've been on the plane coming home with Dustin Johnson after he wins an event, and 9 a.m., like, we're back in the gym. Same thing with JT. Like, JT wins the Players Championship, and like 8:30 Monday morning, we were in the gym, and we were already prepping for the Masters. So it's like, those are the things that we want to be able to do. Those are the things that we're trying to do. So that drive and that passion, like, man, to me, that's the why. And that's what my why was. My why was, I knew I was going to be successful. I didn't have a blueprint. I just knew that if I worked as hard as I could and I was available for anybody that needed me, then it would all take care of itself.
Over deliver.
I knew that if, because like it's like anything else, if me and you start training, the minute you think that I don't really care about where you're going or where you're going to get to, man, you're halfway out the door. Like, you just need a reason to quit. A lot of people, because so for me, I'm not going to give you that reason, because like, I'm invested and I want you to invest in me. Like, I go to a lot of these fiscal, and when I'm in my beginning, back to the beginning, I talk to these fiscal people, and all these gurus that you would go to these conferences, and it's like, look, man, like, don't do anything for free. Like this, blah, 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 and all this stuff, and I'm sitting back in the back and like, man, everybody I've trained with, I've always given them 3 free sessions. Because I believed in myself. I knew if I could spend 3 hours with you, then I know those 3 hours would lead to 3 years. That's 10 years. The
retention would be real if they got a taste of it.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, how we all get, like, everybody's trying to sell something. For me, it's like, I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to sell you something. Like, this is about you. This is about you making a decision on how good you want to be. And if you make that decision, then you need to know that I can get you there, but you're the one that has to put the work in. Like, I can be a catalyst, I can be a vehicle to help you get there, but you're the car, right? Like, I can be the oil to put in the car, but eventually you got to drive the car. You got to put, like, I can put the air in the tires, but you got to drive the car on the track, So
I like that you don't give them an out route, Kolby, because what you said is, I call it that pack a lunch mentality. It's that blue collar. Like, you're going to be there, accountable, putting everything in. So that doesn't give the athlete an out to kind of slack, or, Kolby couldn't make it today. So like, that's never going to be an issue from your standpoint. I love that. Correct. And that's how I am with my guys too. So we have a crew. We train at 4 to 6 a.m. every morning, and the same type of thing. Like, I might not be the strongest dude or the biggest dude in my group, but I don't miss. That's what I always tell them. I don't do anything extra special, but I'm going to be there every day, and that. And when they can rely on you, that's a huge, for all the things that these big time players got going on, Kolby, that's got to be huge for them, man.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest compliment that you can get in this realm, of course, like in my industry, is like I tell my guys that work for us here at the gym, like the guys that we're able to train, or the guys that allow us to be on that journey with them, they can train with anyone.
Facts.
Right? They can train with anyone. They can train with anyone. So the biggest compliment that we can have as a company, or as a business, or as a system, is when people choose us. Right? So it's back to the same mentality. It's like, now you got the ball, now what do you want to do with it? Well, I tell my guys, like, how great you want to be. Because everybody's got greatness in them. It's just how far you're willing to dig down and get it. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it takes time, because it's like, it's not on your timeline. And there are things that happen in life that you got no control over. But we can control the things we can control, then that's going to lead to the success in the end. That's trusting the process. That's diving into the process. That's basically, you can't control the outside things, but you control your effort. And effort's free. Like I tell my 13-year-old
effort is a choice.
Free. That's exactly right. We always got a choice. Like, you always got a choice. Like, you got a choice where you can either work hard, or you can take a break, or you can, when you think about nutrition, you can stay on track with your nutrition. You can stay on track with your hydration, and then understanding recovery and training and all those principles. And that's the big thing that we want to do. Like, for me, like, being on that journey with you, I want to try to give you every advantage that you can have, especially in sports. We don't want to leave any stone unturned, because like, when you hit on between those lines, or when you cross those ropes to get into on that first tee box at Thursday at Augusta, like, we're ready. And there's no doubt, because if we put the time in, it's just a different game. It's like I tell them all the time, it's a game changer. If I can find and identify weaknesses on your body and make you understand how hard you truly are working to swing a golf club, compared to if we get the body moving correctly and functionally and dynamically, how much easier it becomes. Now you become a flatliner. you know, and it's something that we can repeat over and over again. And now, knowing that everybody out there that you're competing against have those imbalances and weaknesses that they never really addressed. But because you have now, it's a game changer. And now you're using all those things now.
Kolby is so good, dude. I love it. Guys like you usually have epic morning routines. Do you have a very like set up process for yourself of when you do what, how you educate yourself outside of like, you know, do you have like a set up morning routine?
Yeah, I mean, my morning usually consists of the same thing, man. It's been like that for the last 20 years. Like,
I figured so. Go ahead, please tell us.
I mean, I'll get up in the morning and I'll go through just my movement reps too. It's the same thing. Like I'll do my push-ups. I'll do, you know, all the things that I want to do to kind of get the blood flowing. And then I just kind of like sit and kind of be still and just kind of like get ready and prepare for the day. And it's like my brain is just a little different sometimes, you know, because even my wife will be like, you know, where are you right now? And I'm making workouts. Like I'm doing it all. Like, you know, it's funny. And even like, I mean, because when I see, and when you dive into it a little deeper, it's like if I'm playing golf, like I used to have to, when I'm playing golf with a group of guys, I don't even watch because like I'm looking at them and I'm thinking about internal hip mobility and I'm looking at all these gears moving and all this stuff. And they'll ask me like, you know, wait, you see my ball where? I'm like, nah, I didn't see it.
You're like, no, I saw your adductors are turned off right now.
Yeah. So, you know, so with that right there, with that being said, yeah, man, it's just what I like to do is just kind of like take time and be in the moment, you know, and just kind of get my mind right, you know, because like it's going to be a good day. Like it's going to be a day that we're going to get better today. And it's for me and it's for everybody I come in contact with. And I want my 5 a.m. client to understand that my 5 a.m. client's going to be just as good as a workout as my 4:30 p.m. client because it's about them. And the beauty about the industry and what we do and what I'm allowed to do every day is like my day kind of starts over every hour.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right.
So it's like I'm not just counting money at a bank, or I'm not just, you know, choosing or teaching the same curriculum throughout the whole day for each class that comes through the day, because everybody's got their own fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own thing. So for me, what I really get excited about is just like, man, it's another day. Like, you know, at 9 a.m., like I'm working with JT. At 10 p.m., I'm working with Lexi. I mean, 10 a.m., working with Lexi. Noon, lunch, I've got Jessica Corda, you know, and after that, I got, you know, like Lucas Glover's coming in. And then after that, I've got Tre'Davious White coming in from the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like,
good.
You know, so it's
many, and you get so many different body types and challenges and levels and different weaknesses. And it's like you're addressing all. So it's a challenge and a puzzle constantly, which is amazing at the highest level.
Correct. And that's where we take credit in. Like from a training concept, like what we try to do is understand that everybody has their own imbalances and weaknesses that we need to address. And we can't do it from a cookie cutter standpoint. Like we can't just have a printout sheet where everybody just kind of does the same exact workouts, no matter who you are. So we got to understand, number one is we got to understand why your body moves the way it moves, and why it's moving that way, right? So there's something from a kinetic chain standpoint, from the body and kinetics, like the reason why you got 10 degrees of internal hip mobility. So we know if the mobility in the hip is limited, then we know that's dysfunction in the glutes.
Yep.
And if the glutes aren't fine, then we know there's instability in the knee. And if the knee's not stable, then it just goes up the whole kinetic chain. So then we know we can have some limited in dorsal and plantar flexion. So when you think about footwork and a golf swing, using the ground more efficiently, it all starts right there. So we can literally test one move, right? I can test internal, external hip mobility, and it tells me what your whole right side's doing. And then now I can create the program that's going to attack that, because you're going to have because a lot of people, they don't even realize that. When you think about just a sport in general, when you think about golf, like when you transition into that lead leg into your downswing, like if that hip doesn't rotate efficiently, because I want my athletes to be anywhere between 60, 65 degrees. Where normal range of motion is 45 degrees. So if you're just a normal human, we want it to be 45 degrees.
Okay.
But when you think about a dynamic athlete that's got to transfer energy from his right side, pushing off into the ground and then posting his left side, that left hip has to turn to allow him to clear. And that's why you see so much early extension in a golf swing, because if the hip doesn't turn, if it only turns 10, it's going to turn 10, and then everything goes haywire. So for us, like we get in there and like we start actually breaking the body down into those parts, and then we want to like see, okay, now if the hips move down, I know the glutes are fine. If the glutes are fine, I know the lumbar is stable. So all of a sudden, then the thoracic spine starts to open up. And so just by fixing that one thing, right? So I might have you doing a dynamic exercise on one leg, and you're like, I'm just standing on one leg, but I'm addressing knee stability, the glute activation, and the lumbar stability and the thoracic mobility. And I'm also stabilizing the foot, which is going to increase your ankle mobility. So you think you're doing a dumbbell curl on one leg, and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I think I'm working my biceps, but we're doing it so much more dynamically. So from a neuromuscular standpoint, and that's kind of like the route that I've always taken. Like, because the strength part's the easiest thing in training. I can get anybody strong. It's just an adaptation to stress or a load that we're putting on a muscle. And if you do it enough, you're going to move it eventually. Like your 4 a.m. group that does that. If I just put a big sled in front of you and like, okay, push it. Well, you might only be able to push it like 10 yards and your leg's about to fall off. But in 2 weeks, if we keep doing it, sooner or later, now you're pushing it 50 yards, 60 yards.
You're going to adapt,
But what we're not thinking about from a training concept is what is Cory sacrificing to be able to push that load?
Oh, yeah.
Is he really using his glutes? Is he on his toes and it's just all quads and calves? So now we're putting more stress on the knee. So same thing with training. So I tell people all the time, like, you can't shoot a cannon out of a canoe.
Yeah.
So why would I train you, right? So you're becoming a cannon, but your legs are a canoe. Your balance is off. So you're never going to be able to harness all the power and the velocity that we're trying to create and speed for transfer energy from the ground up. You're going to be more top-down guy because we're just over-dominating with something else. So we can address those things and train them. Then now it's a game changer. It's over. Like now.
Well, and athletes got to feel that transfer, relatively soon after you guys start to break this down, and they didn't even realize they didn't have it. Because I know when I've had injuries in the past, I do powerlifting, drug-free powerlifting, and and I'm more of a wide stance squatter, more like a Westside style conjugate method type of training, and you can tell, you're like, man, I didn't even realize that wasn't firing the same way until you feel it again. Sometimes people get really used to using just a way lower capacity than they're even capable of, and I'm sure you've seen it at the highest level.
Absolutely. So, that's kind of like you keep lifting it till you get it. So it's like you lift it till you get it. Like that's the beauty, but that's also the curse of the athlete too. Because I can tell you to run through that wall, and you're gonna run through that wall, right? Because that's what athletes do. They just find a way to get it done, no matter if it breaks every bone in your body. So for me, like I want to take you on this new path that gets you through the wall, but it's with the least amount of an option of injury. Yeah, because
along the way.
Keep you injury free. Exactly. So if I can keep you injury free, I can keep you performing at a level you never dreamed of. And that's what happens with these athletes. And it happens fast, just like you said. And then they realize that you're out there playing at a high level. Look, you're out here. Like, you've done it. But when it really starts to make sense, is, man, if you're out here and it says it takes 25 muscles, so I'm just going to throw that number out there because it takes way more. But 25 muscles for Cory to have the perfect swing. And then we realize that you're on the PGA Tour, and when I do a test on you, you realize you're on the PGA Tour and you got 5 muscles at work. So if we can get 10 muscles working, you're a different athlete. If we get 15, we get all 25 working. I mean, that's a game changer. That's the stuff that when you go on a run and you win the next 14 tournaments in the next 2 years or something like that.
Awesome.
I mean, that's the game changer. So that's what we try to do, and that's what I try to give my athletes. I want to give them, and it's like anything else, and it's mental too. Nothing can free your mind up more than if your body does what it's supposed to do. Because now you're not trying to compensate.
The ultimate confidence when you're firing is like, let it go. You're going to be on the tee box letting it go, and that's what 100%. You want.
And it's crazy because, like, I've talked to a bunch of high-level golfers that it said it would take them anywhere between the second or third hole or even the fourth hole to feel like they can really start swinging. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, what? Yeah. I was like, no. So, and that just goes back to kind of like the pre-run stuff and the pre-movement stuff too. So you want to get the body ready to go swing a golf club. What we do is get the body ready to swing a golf club by swinging a golf club. Yeah. So when we think about from a neuromuscular standpoint, I can get your body to move in all those different planes of movement and get the muscles activated, and we need to be activated on the musculoskeletal system. Now, we're going to cut half your time on the range. I tell them all the time, now you just go out there and just pick your target because your body's ready to do it now. You don't have to go through this super long, just super long warm-up on the range to feel like you can go out there and play.
Kind of wasting energy and reps.
You don't need to. You only got so many swings. Absolutely. And then fatigue is like a jump. It's like a jump shot, like shooting
Yeah.
a jump shot with no legs. When your legs are going,
Yeah.
the jump shot usually goes. You start missing the free throw. Same thing with golf.
I've always said that about lifting too. There's only so many of those reps you can hang it out to dry on, right? And it's the same thing. You only have so many. So, and I think we've seen that with Tiger with the bazillion balls that he hit all those years. It took its toll. Obviously, that's what led to greatness. But there's a
price.
There's a price to pay. That's what I was looking for. Exactly. Tell me about JT getting ready. Obviously, looked amazing at the Players, winning it. Talk to me about getting ready for the Masters. What's like tournament week look like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, so, my guys, it's kind of crazy. So when you think about just from the way we like to do things, it's because I want to keep it as consistent as possible from my guys. Look, the stress of the majors there, like when the Masters, like we're almost there. So if I can if my part can be a real consistent thing where he can lean into, where he knows there's no like kind of like a curveball thrown at him, an extra media or something else, or something's going here or something's going there. So for me, like I really focus on just trying to keep everything as consistent as possible because because a lot of times I think that breeds that confidence you were saying about. I wouldn't want to bring him in the gym and all of a sudden throw something completely different at him and he's like, well, why are we doing this? Or what's going on?
Or not do enough to where he feels like he's getting weaker.
Correct. So for us, like, our weeks pretty much stay the same. Like I load him every week. So like on Monday is like our loading day. So I want to get that neuromuscular response. I want to get that from a central nervous system. I want to get all those fibers firing to where those fast twitch fibers where he's going to feel explosive. And then as we get into the tournament, we'll probably do like a Monday and a Wednesday lift. And then depending on what wave he's in, like I'll make him work out one more time. And then, but on top of that, we're doing movement prep every morning. So we're doing activations, we're doing movement prep, I call it. So like we're getting him on the ground, we're glute activating, we're getting his core activated, like we're getting the thoracic spine moving. We're doing a series of those things dynamically. And then we move to the dynamic side, and I call it kind of like calibrating the motor.
Of course.
So now when he gets out there with that club and he swings it, now everything's kind of calibrated to where it doesn't feel where he's got to do it a couple more times to get it done. And I think we've all been there. I think we've all jumped on the range and that first swing was like, oh man.
Oh. You're like,
feels right. And you're like, and it sounds like, well, you don't even touch another club. You're just banging 8 irons, just trying to get everything done. So for me, like I want him to be calibrated. That's what we call it. Like I said, calibrate the motor. Let's go. Calibrate the engine. And so, and then as the tournament goes on, like we're still doing our movement prep. We're doing our treatment. He's getting his treatment after each round. And then we're doing, if we need to do some extra mobility work, just depending on how his body feels, I just kind of feed off that and see what he's doing. Because he might come off. And then also too, it's a good, what I enjoy about it too is you got to kind of race the horse, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to know, it's like, I know how much work he's done. I know how much practice round he's done. I know how much practice he's putting in. We're at Augusta. He's walking up down the hills. So, I might jump back off the legs a little bit, So it's for me, I'm always in that game where I need to kind of pull the reins on him because he won't. Because it's athletes. He's like, let's go. I feel great. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because he just shot, 65 or whatever the case may be. So he's fired up. He just wants to lift because he feels good. And I'm like, well, this is what we're going to do. And I'll steer him the way I need to steer him.
Yep.
So, because,
I love it.
You just got to watch him because I'm trying to harness that energy because you can burn it up. It's like you said.
Man, you know what? A lot of people, a couple things I want you to speak on. A lot of people that obviously don't play professional golf don't realize, well, they ride the cart. These guys have the stress, the training, the activation, the range, walking 18 holes for 5 days. Like they don't even understand, especially some 100%. Of these dudes, Tiger, I had worked with Tiger a little bit years ago and he was like, man, I'm down 7 pounds by Sunday sometimes.
Absolutely.
And the hydration was the problem. And a lot of people don't think about those things. And you mentioned them early, but talk about how do you kind of just keep checks with these guys on that? Hey, weight, hydration also.
Yep. You can ask any one of them. They say, what's the thing that he tells you the most? So they just aggravates the piss out of you. And he's like, did you eat? Did you drink? I make a living basically walking around and handing professional athletes water bottles. Because I sit there and I'll watch them and they'll get on that putting green and they'll spend 4.5 hours on a putting green. They just left for 2.5 hours on the range. They did 9 holes practice, and then now it's 8 hours later and they hadn't drank any water and they hadn't eaten any food. So the nutrition and that's the first thing, right? because you know as well as I do, I tell them all the time, as soon as you get to that 3 or 4% of dehydration, your strength starts going down, your clarity, your mental clarity, your decision-making skills, your explosiveness, it already starts to go on the downside.
And your room for injury just starts to climb.
Oh, absolutely. Because, you know, I mean, a lot of muscle aches and pains and even muscle spasms is more dehydration than anything.
Yep. Absolutely.
So for me, yeah, like I constantly tell them about that. I mean, it's like I tell them all the time, it's so much more. And then the recovery too. And that's like I said, it's kind of like pulling the reins where they come off a thing and say, you want to lift? And I'm like, no, you lift. No, we're going to lift tomorrow. Sure. I'm like, absolutely, we're going to lift tomorrow. So, I mean, the recovery is just as important, especially for these high intensity moments. Like that's what I don't think people realize, that much stuff's going on. Like you wake up, like they'll wake up at 4, they'll play 18 holes of golf, which I get it, but they're still walking 8 miles, right?
Yeah.
And then they come back and they do 2.5 hours of media. Then they go back to the range and practice for 2.5 hours on the range. Then they go do an hour and a half of putting. So, you know, it's a full day. It's a full day.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the programs, whether you're entertaining and stuff like that, I mean, it's 7 days a week though. You know, it's not like we just play on Saturday or we just play on Saturday and Sunday. Like, I mean, they're out doing it. And then when you factor in the traveling and hotels and different things like that.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
flying alone dehydrates the crap out of you.
Absolutely. And then sleeping in different beds. I mean, it depends. Like, you know, I mean, we look at it from just how the body's responding. And that's where I come in too, because I really need to see. And it's all about communication. The most important thing that if I can give you one tidbit that when you work with athletes or working with athletes is like, you got to be able to communicate. And only you know how your body feels.
Yeah, the outside stressors are so big too, man. Like all those things you just said, like people don't understand how taxing that is to a person's nervous system. I mean, just the flight, the purely the cabin pressure of just the airplane in general. Is your body wasn't meant to do that, Kolby?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and it is what it is. And it's like you got deadlines and you got commitments and you got dinners, you got sponsored dinners that you're doing, you got sponsor invites where you stand after the thing. So, you know, there are times where you know, I myself, I know, like I'm finishing up my last guy, like doing treatment in their room, sometimes 10:30 at night. You know, so and we did our activations at 6:30 that morning. You know, so
dedicated, love it.
Yeah, and that's what it is, though. I mean, you know, it's what we signed up for.
That's what we signed up for. Well, and that's what success takes. That level of dedication, and a lot of people are missing that a little bit here and there. And that's why I like to get that context, because you got here because it's all day, every day, sun up to sundown at a passionate level that's real and authentic. It's obvious and you can see it. How can the weekend warrior, average golfer, what's a few exercises they can incorporate that, you know, everyone needs to be doing, whether it's posterior chain work, hip hinge? Like, what's kind of your basis on, like, hey, all right, man, you're playing twice a week, you're playing in your outing with your buddies, but, you know, you should be doing these few movements at some capacity. What's some advice that you would have for the average golfer? Yeah,
I mean, like I said, rotation is more than anything. It's amazing how I see so many guys at their rotary sport that don't rotate. So band rotations, T-spine rotations, like even like band rotary, band press, where you can actually get in your belt posture and you're doing those things. What we try to do, and what I would tell your audience is, what we need to do is, whatever exercise we're doing in the gym, we want it to have transference over into your sport. So if you play in a rotary sport, then you need to be doing some rotary exercises. And if you play a sport that's on 2 feet, then you need to be doing it standing. Right. So we want to have those type of things that are in place. So when you think about golf as a sport that's played, you need balance. So we need to work on balance. It's a rotary sport, so we need to be rotary. And you think about internal hip mobility and the strength of the legs, being able to transfer energy. So we need to do some leg exercise. So I'd say, like you said, proper hip hinging, learning how to do that first. And then learning how to.
That's one of the hardest things to teach normal people.
Correct. Yeah.
Stiff leg deadlift. I've spent hours when I was early in my training career, like, wait a second, you don't bend that way? Like, I remember like really as a 20-year-old trainer, I was confused. Like, wait a second. People just didn't even know how to literally utilize and not bend at their lower back. It's unbelievable.
100%. So like just understanding what a hip hinge is. Because if you can learn how to properly hip hinge, then you can get in the correct golf posture, that setup. And then if you're strong enough in that position, and if you train in that position, you're going to get stronger to be able to maintain that position in that transfer of that energy. So deadlifts are great, squats are great. Anything that we can do, like a reverse lunge to post, and then we get into like a challenging from a balance standpoint. So what I would tell guys to do, if you want to do bicep curls, good, just do it on one leg.
Yeah.
So do five on your right leg, 5 on your left leg. Because if you're playing golf, you're trying to load your right side and stay there long enough, and you're transferring all that energy into your left side. So by putting you on there and doing that, now if your center of gravity and your center of your mass is your belly button, and if I put 20-pound dumbbells in your hand, now I just added 40 pounds to your frame. And then when you curl it, that center mass moves. So now from a neuromuscular standpoint, you're training your brain to create balance because it's got to adapt.
It's
so
stabilizing.
So those deep spinal stabilizers and all those muscles that's firing up from the bottom of your feet all the way up to the top of your brain, we're attacking that central nervous system from a neuromuscular standpoint. We're getting stronger, which in turn is getting us more dynamic.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, like some core work. Like I said, the rotary stuff's huge, and even the anti-rotation. So when you think about stuff like anti-rotation, like I want you to be able to rotate, but you also got to fight over rotation. Right? So we got to build that right side and that left side. So side plank reach throughs are huge. You know, and then like one of my favorite ones is you get some furniture sliders, or you can do it on a hard floor and get a towel and just get in a push-up position, and you just do hip circles. So that's increasing that hip mobility. Now I'm working your core the whole time too. So deep spinal stabilizers, legs, and definitely rotary. Because like I said, always remember, whatever you're doing in the gym, if you're trying to create that system and build that system, it's got to correlate and it's got to transfer into your sport. So if I take a golfer and I don't rotate him, it goes back to what we said before. I can get you stronger, but I'm not getting you functional.
But it's in one plane.
Correct. It's in one plane. And that's why it's not functional. That's not how we can, and then what it's kind of like just kind of defeating the whole purpose. So if I just keep you putting you in a linear squat pattern, and I don't understand why you keep coming out of your posture, is because I'm training that movement over and over again. So we want to train that movement, but we also want to train the other sides, right? We want to get in that sagittal, getting that transverse plane, getting that posterior chain, and now you're changing the athlete's dynamics.
Love it. One of the things I'm huge on, and I've been doing it for about 10 years now, is, you know, I followed a lot of the kind of Soviet principles for powerlifting, that conjugate method, and do tons of posterior chain work. And we did a lot of sled work for a really long time, but I started doing half-mile walking lunges after lifting weights every day. So I've done multiple streaks. I went up to 300 days at a time, and like my lactic acid threshold, my glute activation, but it was only in one plane. So I caught a clean weird one day and got kind of twisted up, and then had trouble at the golf course. And so what I started to do is, even when I'm doing my half-mile lunges, you know, knee behind the toe, knee touching, then I would rotate, just like probably how you would have some of yours, to do each side, so it would keep it out of just a single plane. And it carried over to everything. Powerlifting, running, it's the same kind of, so it was 100%. An interesting change for me, because I hadn't seen anybody that had done an exercise really as a conditioning piece. And that's helped a lot of my athletes I had worked with over time. So I told like a pro athlete, you can't do 400 meters of lunges and not be sore where you can't walk for 10 days. This would be obviously in the off season. Like, I shouldn't have a 15-year-old kid that can do that at my gym. You know what I mean? Like, it was, so I've had some interesting challenges being a little bit outside the box on some of the training methods I've done over the years, but of course I don't throw that at them a week from the Masters, you know. But is a lot of these guys up for some of the crazy stuff that you probably come out with, you know, when they have those periods of time, Kolby? They'll listen to you because they trust you, obviously.
Absolutely. It's like, I love that you brought that up, because that was the next thing that I was going to dive into, is because for me, from a training concept too, like, I want to push that lactate.
Yeah.
So, and what I tell people all the time, like, so I train kind of like in a hybrid system where it's not like, we don't really go through, I'll pick like 3 different exercises and I'll make you go through that series.
Okay.
So it could be a push, it could be a pull, it could be a rotary, it could be a glute ham, it could be anything like that I don't want to do, because I want to challenge the body dynamically. So I might have you do a trap bar deadlift, and then you go straight to a rotary box jump. Because what I want your heart rate to be there before, and I want your central nervous system to have been there before. So if you got a 2-shot lead on Sunday on the back 9, and your heart rate's shooting up, right? Because it's a different external force. Now your body's been there before, and that's what I call flatliners. Because
Okay.
now your body can process all that energy and all that anxiety, and then it just filters it out because we train that system to where you don't just kind of haywire the system because it's like, man, what's going on in my heart rate? You can feel your heart rate in your throat. You can do your stuff. And I mean, those are the things, because funny story, and he probably doesn't even know this, but if you ever watch JT in the last couple of tournaments that he's won, if you ever watch him, if they show him on side of the green, he's always looking at his hand.
Okay.
To see if his hand's shaking because he wants the juice, right? And it's awesome. And then when I see him do that, I know we've already trained that.
Yeah.
So we don't have a problem. And that's why you see a lot of these guys that do those things, because I don't want you to get there with that stuff, and then your body don't know what to do with it, right? And that's when we usually get tighter. We start panicking. We start thinking. We start playing faster.
It's got to be normal.
Instead of slowing down, we want it to be normal. So when I get you in here, like I'm gonna break you to an extent. You know, I'm not going to hurt you, but we're going to push your body, and we're going to push that lactate threshold to where there won't be a situation that you're going to be in that your body can't handle and your mind can't handle, because remember, the body controls it all.
Oh, that's a fact. Yeah, you got to try them lunges, Kolby. Go out there and get 400 meters one time for me. See what you think.
I like that for sure.
It's different. It's different because the first 100, it puts a burn on somebody, even if they're a great athlete. We even, one of my friends trains DeAndre Hopkins, had him do some of it in this off season, and he couldn't believe like how hard it was, but then the body adapted within a couple weeks, and it was like, boom.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
The body adapts so good. And like I tell people all the time, like, man, you'll quit way before your body will.
Yeah.
You know, you'll quit way before your body will. So, and it's pretty cool too, because when I work with these guys and I work with these girls too, man, it's amazing to see what some of these girls are doing in here. Like it's and what I love more than anything is, like, as we get deeper into our training, like the stuff that was so hard for them, and like now they're like,
no big deal.
And I'll be like, remember how hard this was at first? Like when you were literally crawling on the ground and you were like, I need more time. And like now it's like just standing with the hands on the hips. Now I got to tell you to go get water, like to get away, like go do something, because like the system's changed and it's more dynamic, and now they're recovering faster and their body's processing the lactic acid faster, and they're able to go, and they're able to go, and they're able to go. And that's what we want. We want that monster. We want that engine in there to where like they're not going to stop.
What's JT's nutrition look like? What's kind of a normal day? That is his like super lights out the same way? Is it just in some general, kind of macros? Like, what's it look like for him?
Yeah, I mean, for Justin, it was kind of like when Justin and I started, like he was about 145.
Okay.
And I was like, look, man, like we got to get stronger and you got to gain some weight. Yeah. And he was like, okay. He goes, what do you want? I said, you need to start eating. And he was like, I said, I'll take care of the rest. We went from like 145 and he's walking around like at 165 right now.
Okay.
Better
quality than the 145 probably.
Absolutely. So with that, then you think about from the speed standpoint, the strength standpoint, like all those gains start going up, and then everything's got to be recalibrated because now the club head speed's going up because the strength's going up. So, but for him, he's real consistent with his nutrition. And that's the biggest thing that I'm proud of him about more than anything, because at first he really didn't think about nutrition. Like that's what a lot of them do. They just go play golf. And now it's really cool. And like even now, almost 5 years into our relationship, I asked him yesterday, we were trying to say, what'd you eat today? And he went from like, I really don't like breakfast and stuff like that. Now he eats breakfast in the morning. He's conscious about everything. He's having protein drinks. So now he's fueling his body 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And he's focusing on his hydration.
Not on accident.
Yeah. And he's focusing on his hydration and stuff. I remember when we first met, he goes, look, I hate working out. I was like, well, and now and it goes back to what we said about these journeys, and on this journey with these athletes, like he went from a guy that hated working out where now, he's like, let's do Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. I'm like, you got it. It's like, and he's making, I tell people all the time, like, if you're going to you'll spend 2.5 hours on that driving range trying to hit a draw, but you don't spend 30 minutes. I can get you to hit a draw if you spend 30 minutes on this activation or this mobility program, because then you can clear. Right.
What was the disconnect so bad, Kolby, for so long, you think? Because that's why I was so passionate about doing this show, right? Because I've been in fitness forever, powerlifting, drug-free bodybuilding, whatever, and always just been a massive fan of golf. I've lifted weights and played golf the same amount of time, but there was always that's why I loved Gary Player. I just love Gary Player, right? Because he's the first one that kind of matched it up. But was it because the golfers never took it serious enough because they didn't think the value was there? And guys like you and Joey D had to really bring that next level operation to it, you think?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of like, it was one of those things where it was just one of those false narratives, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Like people would see like
just had
good
negative
golfers, and everybody just like, you'd see like a good golfer and it's like, look, man, you want to play good golf, don't work out because it's going to make you big, it's going to make you tight and all this other stuff like this. And I think it was just kind of like the run of the mill, like you said, Gary Player. And I think like when T-Dub came on, like it was a game changer. Because, you know, everybody had like a swing coach, everybody had a short game coach, maybe had a mental coach. And, you know, they had an opportunity. I remember I read this thing one time and it was like, they asked him what he did. He was like, no, I do this. And it like the pie chart went from like 4 pieces to like 9 pieces.
Yeah.
And then I think and then when it started, and then I guess it was like one of those folklores or like one of those tales where they just didn't think athletes played golf. It was just kind of like a different kind of sport, kind of like, you know, something that was just non-athletic, I guess, to a certain extent. And now I tell my guys the biggest thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make you a better athlete.
Yeah.
You know, so from a skill standpoint, like, okay, now let's just become a better athlete. And I think that all takes care of itself. And I think it really changed the game. It changed the game because what you're seeing now is just you're seeing a lot more athletes playing golf.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And pro athletes of all sports are drawn to golf.
God, yeah.
It's a whole different deal now.
And look, I tell people all the time, the funniest thing in the world is like, and that goes back to the strength phase, right? So it's easy to get strong, and this goes back to that cannon in the canoe thing. I've got some of the best athletes in the world that I've trained in NFL, Major League Baseball, like you name it. Like I've worked with them, and you watch one of those guys pick up a golf club, and it's the craziest thing you've ever seen.
It's either one or the other with those guys. They're either awful or they got game.
Yeah, and it's like, but it's like if you watch all of them, it's like when you tell them to swing it, man, that left foot's coming off the ground, and they can't hit, and that ball's not moving, and you got to get a 99-mile-an-hour ball, 400 feet, and like that ball's not moving, and he can't do it. So I tell people all the time, so it takes a lot of athleticism to be able to do it, hand-eye coordination and all that too. But then going back from a training concept, I think what's really changed the game is that you see now, like just from a distance standpoint, of course the technology is different and stuff like that too, but just like Jack Nicklaus was an athlete.
Oh yeah.
When he's hit, because you look at the numbers that he had and stuff like that, I think
with that equipment too.
100%.
And Gary said he had to lift to keep up with Jack and Arnie. And Lee. He had no chance. He was so much smaller than those guys. He had to be in his room squatting. He was talking about he'd have 2 guys picking up the barbell and he's getting under it to squat.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yep, he knew it.
So he was way ahead of the game. And I think now it's just going to continue. It's going to continue to go that route. Where you see what Bryson's doing. You see how everybody's putting more time. And you look at a Dustin Johnson, who's just a freak. That run that Brooks went on that time. We were lifting before his round. We were doing a full lift. He's
a true meathead, it looks like from afar.
He loved it. He loved everything he was doing. We had the opportunity to work with him the time that we did. Like those were the type of things. Same thing with DJ. Like these guys don't miss their workouts.
Yeah.
They take. Like I tell people all the time, like if you're going to spend that much time on your short game, you need to spend. It's all part of the system, right? Like to be the best golfer in the world, to be the #1 golfer in the world, it's more pieces than just 1 or 2. Like I said, it's almost like the fitness journey. It's like having the fitness journey. It's like getting in a car, and me and your goal is to get to Augusta, and those 4 wheels are what's going to get us there. And we're actually trying to do it with just 2 wheels because we don't like nutrition and we don't like recovery and hydration, right? Or we don't like doing cardio and we only want to lift weights. But that's only 1 tire. We're never going to get there. We're never going to get there until we get all the tires on the vehicle to be able to get where we want to get.
I want to be respectful of your time, Kolby. So I got a couple quick questions, and we'll get you out of here. What's a couple things people don't really know maybe about JT that as his trainer? What's a couple of things that people would be like? Obviously his success has been great, and going into the Masters, I'm sure he's going to be in the top. What people are going to be expecting. So, what's a couple of things you see on a regular basis that maybe others don't?
Of course, he has a drive that's unmatched, a drive to get better. He has a passion to get better every day. But the biggest thing that I see more than anything is like his humility. and how he treats people, and how he treats his team, because I'm on his team and I know. And out of the 14 wins that I've been able to be a part of, 15 wins that I've been able to be a part of, like within an hour of it, like I usually receive a text message.
That's cool.
You know? So, and that goes back to the humbleness, right? And that's the humility, and that's the passion to get better, and understanding that, you know, all the work that's being put in by the people around him and stuff like that too. And just I think, but the biggest thing I think people don't see is that decisions he makes and the sacrifices he makes to be able to compete at the level he wants to compete with. You know, where you see guys, I mean, they got success. I mean, you know, he just won the Players Championship, and you know, he didn't take a day off.
Yeah.
You know, because he didn't want to take a day off, because that drive is, like you say all the time, when you understand your why, that why usually doesn't die.
It's deep.
Yeah, and it's deep in him, and like just to see him grow. Like I said, even the 5 years that I've been with him, like just to see how the guy went from like, man, I really don't like working out, so you're really gonna have to kind of make me do this, and now I don't have to make him do anything. That's what I tell him.
You got to pull it back now.
yeah. Now, for anything, yeah, that's exactly right. So that's the big thing. Just the will to compete, the passion and will to try to get better, and just be as successful as he can is a lot of what I think people don't see. Because, you know, like I said all the time, even like you see the end result, right? So you see the thing, you see the trophy on Sunday, you hear about the checks being made, and, you know, all stuff like that. But it's like, man, and that's why I enjoy working with him more than anything. Like I said, it's such a blessing for me to be able to be a part of it. It's just to see him grow. I mean, who wouldn't get excited about just seeing someone else succeed? You know?
Well,
and be able to see
the
that
humility part you talked about, obviously, you know, both of you guys got a huge case of that, which is what needed to continue to be successful. A lot of people don't, I don't know, they lose track of that whenever things start happening.
yeah, it's easy. It's easy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's my biggest thing too. And even like from the beginning, you know, like you and I talking about before, like, I mean, I'll never forget where you came from, you know?
Yeah.
Like
all in mentality, Kolby. I love it.
You got to be all in, man. You get what you put in. Yep.
Well, so where can everyone find you at? And you guys have a project getting ready to release soon too. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about that yet.
Yeah, we've we're at Joy D Golf Sports Training Center. We're out here in Jupiter, Florida. We got a lot of exciting things going on. You know, like right now we're creating a digital platform and some content library stuff where we're going to be able to we'll have some different apps and stuff where for anybody can, you know, we want it to be global. We want to try to help as many people as we can, you know. So my big thing is when I got here, like I wanted to kind of change the game and really bring something to the world that the world's never seen, you know. And if you want to do exactly what DJ does or what Justin Thomas does, I'm like, how cool would that be? Like, you know, I can't imagine me being a 16-year-old kid now.
My God.
Like I had an opportunity to get in front of a guy who works with Bo Jackson, or, you know,
my gosh. Can you imagine?
You know, stuff like that. So it's like, so what we want to do, and then show people that it's. I tell people all the time, like, it's not just athletes, right? It's everyone. Like, what we do is species specific. The way I train, I tell people all the time, it's species specific. You don't have to be a certain person or type of person, body type, demographic, anything. Like, this helps anyone. Like, if you do these training principles and understand these training principles, like, and we're going to teach you these things. And that's like, we got a book coming out. We call it Hang the Banner, me and Joey. And it's basically like going to give anyone in the world that wants to purchase this book, and you're going to see the blueprint. Like, this is the blueprint that we use.
Hell yeah.
And how we take the human body and we work it in each part and understand that part and how that part works in the golf swing, from the ankle to the knee to the hip to the lumbar spine to the thoracic spine to the shoulder, everywhere, the whole thing. And then we give you that blueprint at the end of that book after you go dive into it and see why we do what we do. And it's understanding, like, we choose these exercises for a reason. It's not just a guessing game. We don't guess, we assess. You know, we're trying to get people to get better. We're trying to get people to move better. And if we can make you a better human, then anything you're going to do in life is going to be easier. Of course. Because you're going to move better. And it goes back to, like I tell people all the time, that club doesn't move. That golf club will not move till you pick it up. So for anybody to tell you that doesn't have to do with 100% of how your body moves, scientifically, in my view, it's just not true. It's false. Because that club doesn't move till you pick it up. So if you don't have, your body can't move in those positions, I don't care what happens. Like it's everything how your body moves. So that's going to be exciting too. And I've been fortunate enough, like I said, hopefully we're looking in a few months, and that's the goal. And we're going to have we'll have some build up to it, and you'll see some posting and stuff like too. And maybe we'll get back on here and we'll talk a little bit more about it in depth, and we'll springboard it into everybody. So I'm super excited about it. It's a project that Joe and I have been talking about for probably the last 3 years, and we finally went ahead and said, let's do it. So we've been working on it for over a year now. And same thing like with a digital platform, like we're going to come out with some different ones like on the smart TVs, and then we're going to even get it from a handheld standpoint too, where we can be able to send that out, and then people have it at their fingertips to be able to do the program.
That's great. And how can they follow you on social media? What's your handle?
On social media, on Instagram, I'm at Kolby Wayne, and on Twitter is at KWayneFitness _fitness.
Well, man, I really appreciate the time, Kolby. This was great, and we have a lot in common. I'm gonna reach out outside of this, and I think I love the all-in grind. The success was great to read about, and I really enjoyed chatting with you, and just wish you the best, man. And I can't wait to watch your guy this weekend. Get after it at Augusta.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. This is awesome.
Absolutely. All right, this is the Golf and Fitness Show. Share it with all your friends. That's Coach K. Wayne. I'm your boy, Cory G, and we are out.